Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. On each episode, we interview recovering addicts and learn their story with addiction. Through exploring personal journeys, we get a glimpse of the depths addicts fall to and their path in recovery. We hope you enjoy the episode. All right, welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. My name's Kevin. I'm an addict, and with me is my co-host,
Josh, addict.
Hi, Josh.
Hello, Kevin.
And our guest today is...
My name is Frank, and I am an addict.
Hi,
Hello,
Frank.
Frank.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Thanks for coming out today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man.
So you said you've listened to an episode or two?
Oh, I listened to them all.
So you kind of know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't enter a scenario without doing my homework, at least in this aspect.
Well, that's good.
Well, it was initially just research, right? And I'm like, man, this is fucking good.
Nice, man. Thank
Listen
you.
to your sponsor, Steve.
Oh, you did, huh?
Yeah, and just the old school mentality, like
Simple.
some of the stories. It's just
Yeah.
like, man, I love it.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to get so many different perspectives on recovery.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that I hear over and over is like, man, that's some interesting stuff.
Well, it's cool because you go to a meeting or you participate in recovery, and you've got all these people, and you may know all of them, but like in an intimate setting where it's just a couple people that are comfortable enough with each other to actually expose a little bit of their actual history or their shit that they're going through right now, you get that relatable, deeper glimpse at what it actually looks like beyond the surface. Yeah. And I think that's what captures a lot of, you know.
I just, on top of that, to add to that, it was like just hearing, like, I know, you know, your guys' first episode, Tyler, and like hear his story just gave me so much insight.
Yeah.
You know, I know him, on a good level, but like just to hear that story, like it adds that extra layer of like, wow, that's cool to know those things about this person, because it helps with understanding and just, you know, basic like connection. I was just like, wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then he comes in every day, right? I'm just like, yeah.
Right on.
No,
Comes to get his coffee.
Yeah.
It's part of his program.
So I'm just like, I know, bro. I know your story.
When he's out of town, when he's not around, he's like, man, I really just want my coffee from the gas station. My program feels weird. I need my Robinson coffee. Yeah. And I'm like, you want me to make you some coffee? He's like, no, it's not the same.
It's not the same. We're at the next level.
So what about you, Frank? Where you grew up around here?
No, I did not. I grew up around the Hollister, Salinas area.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Most of my life, mostly Hollister, but bounced back and forth to Salinas.
If you're so close to Hollister, I spent like years and years and years riding dirt bikes in Hollister.
Yeah, Hollister Hills, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's they're known for that. And it's a fun time. I actually crashed a ATV out there. It was almost a bad time.
Is it a lot of single track?
Both.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of single track.
Like the side-by-side out there would be fun?
They have another side of the mountains, a four-wheel drive park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I can't remember what that big hill that they have that is
right in the
just so
front, yeah.
intimidating, yeah.
Well, that's cool. Is Hollister where you first got loaded?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
You grew up there, or that was most of your childhood? Or
Most of my childhood up to probably around 14, 15.
Okay.
So you were born there and then were there for most of your childhood?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you got loaded first time there?
Yeah, first time I ever got loaded was off E&J brand. About 13, roughly.
Dude, that stuff's so gross.
I just remember
Oh, God.
it was on top of the fridge, and it wasn't mine, of course. The alcohol rarely is at that age, and so we experiment, right, and just so shit-faced. And I remember everything spinning and going, I'll never do this again.
You were with friends or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it neighborhood friends? Really good friends, right? Childhood friends and stuff like that. And just got loaded, and it got to the point where, like, at first it was like I didn't necessarily feel that, like, oh, everything's great. But there was an aspect to that, you know. But I just remember because I just do things in excess, right?
Yeah.
And I just completely to the spins, falling over, throwing up, you know,
Puking.
typical, yeah.
What brought on the drinking? Were you guys like, I think that's alcohol, let's drink it? Or was it like one person coaxed everyone else into it? Or what made you guys want to get drunk?
For me, personally, I think it was a mixture of, you know, us trying to seek out what's going on, but also there was a lot of home stuff. I was just, it was bound.
Like trauma?
Trauma, abuse.
What kind of, well, you want to talk about it?
Yeah,
what kind of trauma?
So for me and my experience, right, a lot of it stemmed from my stepmother, right? So my stepmother, she came into my life around 5, right, around 4 or 5, and just a lot of violence, right, just a lot of unnecessary hitting, spanking at first, right, but then as I grew older and bigger, it turned to punching in the back of the head. Obviously not full force and full contact, but it was there, right?
Did you grow up with your dad?
Yes, yeah.
So you got taken away from your mom at the beginning?
Yeah, I still remember that fight too. I was really young. It was one of my first memories of my sister getting her hands smashed accidentally in a door, and just the trauma of that, getting ushered to a room, and you know, just remember those experiences kind of molding and setting me forth on now stepmother. Now, oh, I mean, she had it out for me. You know, she may not have seen it then or even now. But,
Yeah.
You know, from my memory, it was just like, what the fuck?
Wow, that's pretty relatable. I grew up with my dad and stepmom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I experienced the same kind of trajectory with the, you know, physical punishment, spanking, simple at first. And then as, you know, you get older and bigger, it gets out of hand and dysfunctional. And
Yeah, because they could recognize you, you know, in a sense you could handle it. They may not think like that, but, you know, there was a point in my life where I'm like, I could handle a punch in the back of the head, you know? And in most cases, I wouldn't say deserve it, but I made it hard not to, you know what I mean? If you're wired to be that way, I mean, my behavior was just, it obviously stemmed from a lot of that abuse. It was kind of a vicious cycle that was happening. The abuse caused the behavior, and then the behavior caused more abuse.
I was going to say, because there's a... This is just what I found. There's a correlation between when you're very young, if you're raised in a loving, nurturing environment, you don't do those actions that cause repercussions or violence or getting beat.
Yeah.
You know, so
I relate to that because I often think, like, oh, imagine if it was nurturing and loving and all those things that I try to create for my children.
yeah.
Right? And I haven't always been successful in that because we're addicts and we live this past, right, that unfortunately led to divorces and stuff like that. So, but now I have a 3-month, and that's all I think about is just how can it be loving, like, cause
Good for you.
yeah, I mean, and it's, you know, at that age it's pretty simple to love a baby because they're just so cute and they're innocent. And all those things.
So you want to break the cycle of abuse.
100%.
Yeah.
And I managed to do some of that with my oldest. She's 11, or going to be 11. But the abandonment was there, right? And it was a mixture of my addiction and also the mom keeping me away for good reason.
Yeah. Those are consequences of drug addiction.
Yeah. But I never repeated that with my daughter and my new recent addition. So I'm pretty proud of that because that was a common thing is violence and just, you know, hurt like that. And
so were your parents or people around you at a young age drinking and using? Did you see that growing up, or?
in my home life, no, actually. My dad was pretty normal and still is to this day. He could have a beer and have a 6-pack in the fridge. You'll see it's still there months later.
Wow.
So I know what a normie is.
Yeah.
Right? You know, so my mother, I think, is where I got most of that from. That's who I think passed. And I seen her a good amount as a child, but mostly in the grand scheme of things, a handful of times realistically, because they were divorced, obviously, and then I was always yearning for that mother relationship, right? And she was just never available. She was in a different city, and when I would see her, I'd act out because all this stuff going on at home. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. That did she make an effort to be in your life?
No, and that's one of her amends that she did to me, actually.
Are you kidding?
Wow,
Wow.
And it
was she in a
strange,
disease
yeah.
also?
She is recovered, right? She still smokes, dabbles in pot, but I don't want to say just pot, but some people can do it, but I'm just not one of those people.
Yeah, me either.
We aren't.
Yeah.
So, but she just smokes a little at night, and that works for her. But she's found Jesus and all this stuff.
Whatever works for her, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm behind it, and I'm like whatever's getting you there, because it started that whole redemption thing for her. It's like she visited me in jail one of the many times I was arrested, and she's just like, I need you to write a letter. I need you to write a letter. And this is like, I was getting to a point, right? Because it came in stages. Every time I was getting more and more tired of the life, right? When I first was getting locked up, it was just like I couldn't wait to get out to shoot up again, and that's all I was thinking about. But over the years, it just developed, and every time I was locked up, it was reflecting life a little more, and I'm just like, man.
Your mom was tied into this?
She was. She just in that aspect of when, going back to the way she came to me and made amends for not being there and abandoning us. She's like, that's the only way I knew how to handle it, was just to shut it out.
Yeah.
And it was healing in that aspect, but we just recently had another, not fight, but another opening in our relationship, meaning I'm like, she said, what's wrong? And I wasn't contacting her as much as I should. And I was like, Mom, I don't feel connected to you. And I said, it's nothing against you. I was like, my parents, I don't feel connection with you guys. It's just where I was at. And because she was asking me, she was prodding me, right?
Yeah. Is that the same with your stepmom and dad too? You don't feel connected?
No, absolutely not. Not in the parental way, with love and stuff like that. It's more just, you're my dad, you're my mom, I love you. That's it.
I've gone through phases of that too, man. I've done a lot of work around that. I struggle with it still. I want to get back to the drinking at 13. So when you drank that night or that day, whatever it was, were you at a stage in life where you could you were comprehending that I want to change the way I feel, or were you seeking some kind of acceptance, or was it kind of like a peer pressure thing, or obviously there was you had fuel to change the way you feel from childhood and wherever you were at, whatever you've been through, but what happened that day,
Oh, that day, if I could
not necessarily leading up to, but at the time of
what I could remember and recall, at least from that specific escapade, I just remember I was curious, right?
Oh,
and I know
that's
there was
simple.
a lot of trauma and stuff like that, but I was curious because I'm like, what's this all about?
Yeah.
I didn't really know that you can change the way you feel at that point. I just wasn't aware of it. I just knew people would drink, and I've witnessed it in the past, but I just didn't know that I would drink it and everything would change.
When you did drink that first time, did it hit?
It hit in a sense, but not like that. This is it.
Well, you were puking and
puking.
passed out.
I'll never do this again.
And then the next day?
Oh, I did it. Yeah. Any chance? Any chance from that point on? I was trying to get drunk.
All right.
You didn't know what it was, but you knew it was something.
It was giving me some, and then there was times after that. Initially, okay, it made me feel that.
Yeah, so it hit
normal.
Soon after.
I experienced some of those so-called benefits later, but not necessarily in the beginning because I just did so much of it, and it was just,
Yeah.
So you started off drinking 13. What did that progress into?
Well, it progressed into weed, right?
Pretty quickly thereafter?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I started getting more curious, and I knew that my uncle, he smoked pot, right? So I remember...
Uncles are great, huh?
Yeah. And he was pretty functional, just smoked pot, and he was, he worked for, I don't want to expose too much because he still works there. So he just had a really good job, right? And did really well for himself. And I knew that. I'm like, oh, there's pot. There's pot. So I was fishing around one day, and I ended up stealing one of his roaches on the top. He had it, and I didn't know he had it up there. I was just filling around because I was mischievous. I was looking. And that night, I just remember smoking weed and going, and I didn't really, because I don't know what it is. I don't feel like I did it right, and I hear similar stories from other addicts. Like, I wasn't really high the first time, and I could experience some of that a little bit, but I did feel the body high. Right?
Okay.
I didn't have the heady high that we're so used to later on in life when we're in deep addiction and going, because weed's really strong. I don't care what anyone says. I can be on anything and I'll feel the weed. And that was my experience.
Oh wow, man.
Yeah. No matter what, I could be I could shoot up and do whatever and smoke weed, and it would overpower whatever I was on.
Or definitely fucking give it a run for its money. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So I was, going back to the whole weed thing is I just remember, and my mind's dramatic, so it makes it, I was floating off the bed. But that's the best I can do to kind of remember that situation, going, oh, wow. I just remember closing my eyes and
oh, wow.
Like I was off of the bed.
Yeah.
And
so that was 13 still probably?
Yeah, it's 13, 14.
Okay.
That age. And then, and then it just progressed to my real drug of choice. When I tried it, I was immediately, there was no wonder if this is a release. It was, did you get that from meth?
Did you maintain school? Like,
No.
how long did drinking, smoking weed, like how long did that last before shit started really falling apart?
Well, my parents found out pretty quickly, right? They didn't find out about because
You're still in Hollister at this point?
it's still in Hollister.
Okay.
They found out about the weed, right? And I tried meth a little bit, right? And I was just a kid, though. I didn't have any connections. I didn't, I don't have a dealer. I was so young, right? But I dabbled in it. But so what happened is the marijuana took place, right? And then I ended up getting a little pipe. And then I can't remember what happened, but they found the pipe. And it was a little lipstick pipe. So hilarious for a young boy to have, but it's total chick piece. And it was funny, right? And I look back on it and I realized how much of an addict I was because they confiscated that, right? I was on a month dry out. I wasn't allowed to do anything, stuck in my room. And I remember sneaking in and grabbing that pipe and trying to hit it dry and just stealing it for the day and going at the bus stop and just, and there's nothing in it. I'm just inhaling, the
butane.
gas from
Just in case.
Yeah.
Right? Just in case there's something in there.
Yeah.
I just remember going, oh wow, that's where that started. And I wasn't even getting high, but just the activity of getting that it changed my brain. That was probably the butane or something. You know what I mean?
I remember when I was a kid, I used to take like the dry grass, like dry weeds, and like the stuff where you like it's like hollow and you can pinch it and crack it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would stuff it with pine needles, and then me and my buddy would smoke it.
Yeah.
Fucking
And what
grass.
gave you that idea?
I have no fucking idea.
That's so funny.
Off the hook.
And it worked. Like it smoked like a cigarette. You know what I mean?
Well,
it dried.
got you like
Carbon monoxide. All that
Yeah.
good stuff.
It definitely. I was smoking them. That's
I
for
could relate
sure.
to that story. That's so funny.
I was
you said
addicted
that.
to it.
Yeah. We
I'd sneak off to fucking go do it and hide lighters and shit. Fuck, dude.
I got busted doing the same thing. We were hella young, and we were taking paper and putting grass in it in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was me and my cousins, and we didn't know what was what. We just lit it and tried smoking it. We're like, we didn't know, but we're just like, this is what people do. Like, we were curious, and that was younger, I think. Now that I mention it, I totally forgot about that story. But yeah, I mean, that was my first. And every time I was at mom's house, I would sneak cigarettes, right? At a young age, 10, 11, 12. I didn't know. I would just take a puff. Oh, it was disgusting. But I felt
rough,
myself
violent.
circling.
Yeah, violent on the lungs and it just sucked.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're 13, 14, dabbled in meth a little bit. You're in Hollister still.
Yeah.
Where does the progression start from there?
So at that point, I'm drinking all the time, right? I'm in high school, freshman year, drinking. I just start getting a better meth connection, right? And
Did you say a better meth connection?
Like consistent.
Consistent. Yeah.
Consistent. All right.
Not better as in, just more consistent is the word.
You had your own supplier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was happening. So then it progressed into I was drinking, and whenever I had meth, I was snorting it in classrooms. And I didn't do that often, but I just remember being in the back
Snorting
of class.
in the classroom?
Oh, yeah, in the back, on the desk, real quick, you know what I mean? And I mean, I didn't do that a bunch, but that was,
It happened.
it happened. So those are those things where
This is freshman or
freshman, maybe sophomore. I want to say that because I was, I think I maybe was sophomore when we ended up moving from there because I was just getting in too much trouble. And there was other factors too. My dad had a job that he was traveling to that was in the valley, kind of by Fresno, and so there was other factors, and we were just wild, right? And what really came ahead when going back to the using part is eventually my parents found out, right?
That you're doing meth?
Yeah, the town talks, and Hollister's a pretty small town.
It is.
So they found out I was doing meth, and the way they found out was so hilarious. I'm probably about 15, 16, right, when they started catching on, and I wasn't like I was doing it a good amount, but not like every day, like
Yeah.
I usually do.
Let
when we're
me
older.
ask you this. At this point, are you looking back and I mean, can you look back and say, like, I was getting loaded to cover up this feeling, like shame or guilt?
Yes, yeah, I can say even then I couldn't quite put words to it.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite put words to it then, but
Then,
I knew,
but now.
But now I can say 100%. And even then there was like, I don't know what it is about some of the abuse, but it makes us in tune with energy a little bit more. At least that's what it did
Yeah,
for me.
absolutely.
So I would notice social cues, people's vibration and stuff like that, and based off of survival, right? And
Yep.
it wasn't because I was this guru and energy. No,
No.
because I was just trying to survive my home life, and it wasn't like beatings 24/7. That's not what I'm saying. But when you don't feel love, nurtured, and I mean, in my home life, it got so bad to where I didn't feel loved and wanted. Like I was doing good at school in 3rd grade or 4th grade, right? And they had a performance review with the teacher, and I was so consumed with fear because I'm not good enough. I'm this, I'm that. I was hiding. So you see the end of the couch right there where there's a little cubby on the side. I was just hiding there for hours, and then I'd come back out and hide there, and then they came home. Oh no, you did great. But
So
that's
I
the
can
fear
relate to
was-
that. Yeah.
I had
constant state of fear growing up, and being diagnosed with acute hyper awareness because growing up in a constant state of fear,
Yeah.
whether I'm going to get hit soon, or fear that I'm going to get abandoned, or all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, acute hyper awareness
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, I think all of us,
that have gone through trauma.
yeah, all of us relatively seasoned drug addicts probably have some sort of excessive and or unnecessary attention to detail as a preservation, a source of preservation.
Survival skill.
Yeah, like I for sure can relate to that too.
Yeah.
Got to sit in the corner of the room so you can see everything.
Always.
Yeah.
Back to the wall.
Yeah.
Way before I ever got locked up
Yeah.
in juvenile hall. It was that type of thing. Walk in the room. Where's my brothers? That's the first thing I'm looking for. Because they're going to beat me up if they catch me.
Threats, yeah, scanning for threats.
So you were saying that hindsight, you can see now that you were running from feelings, but at that age, you had no idea.
Yes and no, right? I do remember just feeling like shit, right? There was this, it eventually led to I would have a lot of panic attacks, a lot, and I didn't know what it was.
It was coming down off of meth.
Yeah, well, not even so that, like, before, you know, backtrack to, you know, before all the use or the dabbling, I just remember there was always this anxiety.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. And it goes away.
Yeah, and then I remembered, like, this behavior makes this go away. This using makes this go away.
Yeah.
So I started correlating that, and I understood for me.
Consciously, you did.
Yeah.
That's
Wow,
good awareness.
I like this because it doesn't make me feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a more developed perception now, right? Because I've fine-tuned it and done a lot of work on myself. But back then I was totally aware that this was going to make me feel different, and that's why I was fiending for it, you know, because I'm like, I don't want to be me. That's just the way I feel.
What early consequences did you like? Not like getting grounded or anything, but like some serious consequences in your teenage years?
Yeah, juvenile hall. Not a ton of it, but enough of it, right? I ended up, going backtrack to, you know, 15, 16 when they drug tested me, right? They randomly drug tested me, and they did it in a sneaky way. Oh, my dad's like, "Oh, I'm having a surgery. Want to see if we're the same blood type." I'm like, okay.
So pee in a cup?
No. They did a swab.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, and I the whole time I'm like, dude, something's up, dude. This doesn't seem right. Why would? Wouldn't it bled? I don't know. I don't know anything about science, and but I'm like, this doesn't seem right.
Dude, you got conned by your dad.
Yeah, dude. And the whole time I'm like, something's not right. So, long story short, couple days later, once the test came back that I had meth in my system, it was my dad came in pissed, right? You can imagine.
Yeah.
I was sitting on the computer, remember vividly, and he called me into a drug test. And
Sneaky style blood type.
yeah, and you know, we were just kind of chatting. Like, I knew something was up, but I didn't really have a choice, right? If he wants to know if something's in my system, my dad's gonna get it from me, right?
Yeah.
He's just that he was a domineering figure. There was no, you get it or you get ass whooping. So it was like, all right, well, whatever we're doing, it's to save dad. That's was kind of the narrative. I'm getting a surgery and blah blah blah. Just in case I lose blood, I need blood. Whatever. They got blood banks for that, but it was funny though. A couple days later, I get jammed up. I'm sitting at the computer. Remember it pretty good. And he just says, "Get the fuck out of my house."
How old were you?
I was around 15, 16-ish.
Huh.
Get the fuck out of my house.
Wow.
And I remember going, all right. Going and grabbed nothing that I did have. I just left.
Dude,
right?
Me too. 15. Gone.
And of course, you know how the typical story goes. They kick you out and then report you as a runaway. But that's when it really took off, when I started doing coke, meth, and I was doing it every day. And eventually they kind of pinpoint. I was just right down the street at my buddy's house, right? So they let it go on for a little bit, right? And then they reported me as a runaway because I wasn't going to school, and if I did, it was just to show up all fucked up. And so, fast forward, a month later, roughly, I'm getting woken up by the police at my buddy's house, right? And we just hotbox the room, so there's weed smoke, smell everywhere. And the poor, I remember to this day, my friend's mom just like kind of terrified, like, am I, like, you're a runaway, here's the cops looking for you.
How'd the cops, did she call the cops?
So I don't know the full story behind that. I do believe that my producer does.
Oh,
So
okay.
they called the cops. Right. And obviously I was in that mentality, I ain't snitching, so, because the reality is those bastards kicked me out. It wasn't like I wasn't running away. You kicked me out. There's a difference, right? So, but I was like, I'm not telling the cops that, right? They just and then we're all playing the charade. You ran away, and I'm like, yeah, you know, and I'm like, that's not what happened in my head, right? But so they bring me back, and my dad's like, we're taking you to your mom's. Let's go up there.
Where's mom live?
In South Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
So,
And this is after that you guys had already moved to, what was it, Fresno?
no, that was before. So, that was probably a little while before I tried to move up with my mom.
Oh, okay.
They shipped me off to my mom. They did. It didn't work there.
Obviously.
My mom was high on pills, slumbered on the couch. She was just really going through her addiction at that time, and we never saw eye to eye because of it. And you know, she was giving me Valium here and there, and that kind of started some of my pill endeavors, right?
Wow.
Kind of opened the door, because I was a really high-strung, angry kid, right? I was always getting in arguments, fights, and stuff like that. So she's like, "Here's a happy pill," and that's what I remember. I didn't know they were Valiums. I just knew they were happy pills, and so there I was being happy, and they worked, right? I mean, she wasn't feeding them all to me because she still had her own addiction to feed. So
Yeah.
but she gave me some every now and then when I was a little fucking wacko, you know, and. But that's and that's where my drug seeking started. I can't say I got too much drugs up there, but that's when because I was using all the time, and then all of a sudden it stopped, and I really noticed the beast wake up. And like, so I was constantly making connections, trying to find shrooms, whatever I could, you know.
Yeah, garbage can at this point.
Yeah, and anything to change it. It's talking about stealing Robitussin, you know, different stuff like, oh, we gotta come up with a plan, and you know, stealing cigars at the local 7-Eleven, and that changed me up, right? And then I get a bunch of beer, right? So it continued there, but the meth use kind of died down because I didn't know anybody there. So and then it eventually led where it always leads, a big knockout, drag out fight. I ended up put in a boot through my mom's side door, right? Big old dent. She called the cops, and that's where I caught my first case, vandalism. So they did just a site release then, but later on when I got because it eventually hit its boiling point. My mom didn't want me. Dad didn't want me. Mom didn't want me.
Right.
But my dad was forced to take me back, right? Because his hands are tied. It's like they take me back, and I remember it too because they ended up flying me out to Las Vegas because that's where they're on vacation, right? And it just worked out better for them to just do that, to get me there for the vacation, and they were just going to drive home, right? Or you rent a car. I can't remember how we got home.
Wow.
So that was that. And so no matter where I went, it was just like nobody wanted me around. My behavior was unacceptable, and
I mean, that's a good enough reason to get loaded right there.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted us around.
Yeah, and I didn't make it easy. So I was trouble, right? We're talking about a kid that went into therapy real young. They tried that, but they immediately stopped it because I immediately started stealing from my therapist. Started stealing their toys, putting them in my pocket. So
Wow.
the signs were there. And then they empty my pockets out in the hallway.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. So it was like my criminal activity started at a young age, and I just remember those.
Mine too, dude.
Yeah, just.
Wait, how old were you in that early therapist office?
I was young. I couldn't be more than maybe 8 or 9, 10, around that little chunk of change time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you started early?
Yeah, I remember getting caught stealing several times. We were on like a road trip or something when we were coming back from somewhere, and we stopped at a country like
Store.
trade store or some
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere.
How old were you?
I don't know, young.
5, 6?
No, early, probably younger than 10 though.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was young, and I pocketed some rings, some silver and turquoise rings,
Oh.
and
$1.
and the owner came over and said something. He's like, "There's some rings missing out of here," and he said it really loud so my mom could hear. And like I tried to deny it, and my mom was like, "Do you have Eventually my pockets get emptied out and there's fucking rings, But yeah, I mean, Yeah, dude. I
That's
stealing candy. I definitely was stealing candy younger than that too.
My one of my older brothers taught me how to shoplift candy bars from the grocery store at 4 years old.
Yeah, I was
Get
probably
caught.
6 or 7. Yeah.
I loved it. That was, looking back on it, I think that was a pretty good high for me, and I didn't understand that.
The adrenaline.
Oh my God, I would
Yeah.
fill my pockets full.
I used to take the snow skirt on my snowboarding jacket and button it inside of my jacket, but the jacket would be most of the way unzipped or all the way unzipped. And I would just slide shit in there, and the snow skirt would hold everything in there. I would just full of candy and whatever the fuck,
And I got real keen to cameras, the angles.
Yeah.
Right? So I was real manipulative in that.
I started grabbing 2 of things and sliding one up the sleeve and putting one back.
Yeah.
And that way, if they looked at the camera, it was like,
Oh, it's back on the shelf.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's hilarious. 'Cause,
So you went back to Hollister.
Yes. We're on our way back to Hollister. I think that's around the time when we started.
You're 15, 16.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roughly. I think that's the time we're like initiating the move. Because then my
To
parents-
Fresno.
to Chowchilla.
Oh, ew.
Yeah, it's
Interesting.
it's a blinkable town, so you can blink and miss it.
Blinkable. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Yeah, so there's it was just
It's where the women's prison is.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what everybody says too. When I would tell them, oh yeah, we lived in Chowchilla for a time.
That's the only thing it's known for.
Yeah.
Women's prison. It's that big. It's that big. So you're moving to Chowchilla, and everything continues, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the drug seeking continued. I was looking for meth. And,
When do you catch your your juvenile hall case?
so
Is that right around then?
That's it's getting close, right? So we were out in Chowchilla, and then I get stopped one night and arrested because I have a warrant for the stuff in Tahoe, right?
Oh.
So that's what started my career as a criminal. I mean, I wasn't in juvenile hall very long, right? But it was the whole probation experience. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're still by the balls. All these years
Yeah.
when you're doing it, you're still by the balls. There's never, well, no, you're always by the balls. And that's what my dad warned me about, because he went through the prison system and stuff. And he's just like, once they get you, there's nothing I can do.
What's the extent of your trouble? Like, how much trouble did you end up getting in? Or were you able to kind of keep it? Did you
Overall?
Yeah.
Oh, I have upwards to 4 felonies.
Did you do a prison term?
Yeah, I did one prison term, yeah.
How old were you?
I was 24.
Okay, so that's skipping a little bit ahead. Yeah.
Pretty young now.
Years ago.
Yeah. What was it for?
For 245 assault with great bodily injury. So I think it was A, 245 A or whatever the heck it's called.
So you're angry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bottom
100%,
line.
Yeah, there's just so many incidences where, I haven't abused a girl I haven't, any girl I've been with I've abused. And I'm not proud of that, right? But that's the only.
That's still today current even?
Current, yes, but I mean, I'll tell you the story too. That was something we talked about, how I went to jail, in 2 years of sobriety.
Oh yeah. That's not that long ago.
No, that's not that long ago. About 3 years ago, roughly. So I've experienced a jail cell sober.
All right. So juvenile hall. So that was just like a repetitive cycle then.
Yeah, so that got me into the system, right?
Yeah.
I managed to terminate that, right? But shortly
You
after-
terminated probation?
Yeah, I don't know
Wow.
if it was successful. I can't remember.
You turned 18 and they dropped it, or
I think that's what happened.
Okay.
And then shortly after that, I got caught for stealing a bottle, which led to violence because they tried to attack me, and obviously they're stopping me.
Yeah.
But it led to injuries, not on myself, but on them.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I knew what I was doing, but they triggered me, so I fought. Because they were tackling me, right? There was no words. It was
Yeah, I
just
get it.
immediate. Yeah,
I
it was
get
just
it.
immediate, and I just reacted. So that was that experience, but that got me back into the system until I was about 28. Yeah. No, 20. 2017.
Okay.
It was about.
Oh, so when we met originally, you were fresh out.
Yeah.
I was too. I'm a year behind you. I got out in 16.
Yeah, I think that when we initially met, I just maybe have discharged parole.
Okay.
Because I got out and immediately went to meetings and did everything that we were supposed to do because I
Really?
was forced to by parole, right? Well,
No
it was
shit.
Post release around that time. There was a lot of post release going on, and you weren't really on parole. It was just like probation overseeing you on parole. Well, what happened was with that experience, right? It was just constant, right? Upwards of a better half of over a decade in and out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So that repetitive cycle just caused havoc in you.
Where did you find recovery at first? Where did that creep in at?
good question.
Was there any H&I? Do you remember?
There was some. I do remember it, but I would go to them.
Yeah.
It was AA. But I wasn't fucking listening, you know. I was just like.
Just to get it out of the cell.
Get out of the cell. Oh, cool. I'll go to church too, and I'm not a God guy by any means. Get used to the idea, right? All right, the whole God concept and connection. I'm getting used to it, and I'm getting better. But I've never been a Jesus guy, you know. Oh, Jesus.
It's not required.
It's not required, and I just could never connect. But there I was every Sunday, going up there like
Get out of your cell.
Christian, and running up there just to get the fuck out of the cell. Dude.
You're saying not a God guy, and you're getting better at it today. Like, are you referring to specifically like any kind of like mainstream deity, or are you like, or just
Spiritually.
higher power in general? You're not. It's not a thing for you. God.
It is, right? I'm getting used to the concept of that spiritual aspect of it.
Nice.
Right? And trying to pray to something, right? And so it's
Do you ever feel any kind of connection from that process?
I do.
Tight, dude. Fuck yeah.
But I found out that activities connect me more, like working out and different things like that connect me more spiritually than actually praying. Right?
I experienced that too, and my belief behind that is that the activity, especially physical exertion, calms my mind enough for me to shut the fuck up and listen. Like that's typically what it is. Like I'll push the most eye-opening awe moments, creative, visionary, anything amazing that like I come up with or experience, or it's all been on like long runs. Mm-hmm. Like I go on a long ass run and I'll be in the middle of my run and I'll plan out like the next 3 months of my life.
Yeah.
Because the clarity and like I have this contact and this connection that's just like
The dopamine, man.
I can't get it without the extreme cardio. It's not there, you know.
That's my fix, right? I'm totally doing it to get high.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
But it's
Yeah.
the closest thing that's the closest thing I can feel to on a spiritual. Because I'll listen to podcasts like you guys recently. I listened to every single one and I was pissed that it ended. I was like, what the fuck? No, the last one was Ross.
Tight.
I was just like, oh fuck.
That's cool.
So
I can relate to that, what you guys are talking about. Because when you were saying, I was thinking, I am the same way. Like when I'm riding the Ducati in the Santa Cruz Mountains, just weaving around.
Yeah, it requires your full focus.
Yeah, and I'm present. In the moment. I get that. I think it's awesome.
there's something to be said.
Everybody finds it in a different place, you know.
My wife's, she gets on a horse.
Yep.
Boom, she's in heaven.
Yeah.
Spiritually connected.
Yeah.
Did fear of some kind, like growing up, did it carry over into relationships today?
Oh, 100%.
What is that like?
Paranoia.
Really?
Paranoia, full on paranoia.
In all relationships?
All of them.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. I can relate to
All
that.
of them, man. You're fucking this person. You're doing that. You're, I finally stopped checking phones. I'm like, in this relationship, it's healthy if I've been. I don't check her phone. I don't think about it. It's not my business. But before, I'm like, what's your passcode? Let me get in. Let me get in it. And,
Really?
Oh yeah.
What about friendships?
Friendships too? I fought almost all my best friends growing up.
Yeah.
Physical altercations. Like,
Does that carry over today?
No, I got a big grasp on it, and going back to that whole incarceration while clean.
Yeah.
It was so weird because it was when I caught that, right, when it was a fight, and it was the lowest scale of any, and I'm not minimizing it, but it was, out of all the things I did, it was definitely like, it was like, okay, that sucked, but it was worse, right? And so, but even then I was just like, that was probably the time I realized I didn't want to get high, because because a warrant out for your arrest, possible fired from your job, all these things, right? And I remember going, I don't want to get loaded. And that right there, that's when I knew, because, and what catalyzed it, because my boss at the time told me, come over here, you'll be safe. And they were drinking, right? And they were shit-faced. And that's cool for them, they do their thing, right? But red flags went off, I'm not safe. I was like, because here I am, in this delicate stage, right? And I was around drunks. I said immediately, all my bells were, I need to leave.
You didn't?
I did 100%.
Oh,
I did. I said,
This was after getting out of jail?
No, this is while having the warrant for, before getting incarcerated while
oh,
sober.
okay, gotcha.
So I just remember that was the time I realized I didn't want to get high anymore. I mean, I knew that for the 2 years, but I was like, it's like, wow. Because I went there and they were drinking, and I'm like, I'm not safe. And I just remember, I'm not safe. I need to get out of here, because there was something inside me, whether higher power or whatever, said, I need to leave. You're not safe, Frank. I know you have a warrant and everything. And before it would have been like, light it up, drink it, you know what I mean? Fuck it, world's ending. You know, I got a warrant. Fuck it, I'm going to jail anyways. Because that was just the mentality.
I know we're jumping around a little bit, but I want to get back to that question that he asked about relationships, but then also...
Timeline?
Yeah, yeah, kind of like, okay, so you got out of prison and you started doing all the stuff, and then that transitioned into what? And then you got to a point where you were clean, and then you got in a warrant. Like, what happened? What was the transition out of, like, I got in prison, then I was on probation or whatever? What happened there? What kind of transpired to get you to that point?
So the funny thing is it was a couple steps, right? Initially, I was supposed to be out in Placerville for my first recovery.
First recovery, you mean like
Release?
Yeah, my release. I was, because they immediately knew
El Dorado
I'm a
County.
drug addict, you need to go to a rehab right when you leave
Okay.
prison, right?
Oh, so they were going to send you to Coloma.
Yeah, so I still owed time in El Dorado County, so they didn't ship me out to any prison. They kept me in reception for like 3 or 4 months. It was horrible.
Wow.
Right? Because I wanted to...
You were in Tracy?
The yard, you know what I mean? I wanted to...
Tracy?
Yeah, Tracy, back when it was still open.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go to a yard. And it was all... But they just kept me there. I'm like, well, you owe time over here, and you're going to have to... We're not sending you out. You got to go up the hill anyway, so we're not going to waste time. You only got, 4 more months at that time. By the time I seen my counselor, I only had 3 more months or something like that. And I mean... For me, reception was just like everybody was getting removed at every yard, and it was just like you're on your belly the end of the yard, a couple hours. Sometimes because it depends on how severe it was, and during summer too. So it's just like
you're just in the cell losing water weight, just sweating.
Brown water.
Fuck yeah.
And then I remember the whole time, my first experience of my first sobriety or clean time, whatever you want to call it.
You can call it anything you want.
Yeah. And I just remember claiming 420 as my clean date. And I did heroin in prison, right? Totally didn't count that. Didn't count.
Well, I'm in prison. It doesn't count.
Yeah.
Didn't count.
Right.
And I was smoking weed. Didn't count. Whatever. They still cut my same clean date. So I get out. So they shipped me back to Tahoe, right?
You were supposed to go to Coloma.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's why they shipped me out. I do another month or so there. Well, I'm supposed to go to Coloma, and there's politics. So a guy comes in to my dorm. I have 2 days to the house.
In Coloma or where you?
In the jail.
Oh, got it. El Dorado.
So that's what steered my path, right? He quote unquote ratted on my little brother, my blood brother.
Yeah.
So still to this day, it's like I had no choice. He's my literal in that life. I mean, you've experienced it too. Like, it's not happening.
Yeah, dude had
You're
to
not
go.
housing in this,
Yeah.
in this house.
Yeah, you
This
had
house
to
is-
get off on him. I'm
Oh,
sure. Yeah.
And it was pretty violent. You could imagine I was really healthy. I was doing burpees every single day. Like, I was really healthy. And so it was pretty violent. I mean, I'm not the biggest, baddest, but that situation was not a good, because they had to
Right,
get a
I get it.
wheelchair. There was a concussion, all this other shit. But
So that led to.
that led to, I'm getting out, right? I get out because they locked me down in my cell because they didn't know what to do. You're out in 2 days. You just violently, there's cameras and stuff. So there I am. I'm going to Kelowna. Nothing to think about. I got my bags packed, and I meet her at a mental health facility, and she immediately arrests me. She gets me in handcuffs and goes, I can't in good faith send you to a facility with other men watching what you did to that other inmate.
You blame her?
I know, I totally understood.
Oh, yeah.
I totally understood it, right? And they were going to charge me with assault and do the whole thing. But the dude was like, no, not. He ratted me out and all that stuff, but he was like, no, we're not pressing charges. We were longtime friends, right? And in retrospect, you know what time it was, dude. My little brother, I got that's my only sibling that I connect to and we're best friends.
We get it. So
Yeah.
you took care of business. You get arrested when you get out, and then you do more time.
Yeah, they locked me back up, and now it was the battle of, well, are you getting another a prison sentence, or we're just going to violate you? So thankfully, we went in front of the judge, and I said, no, I've been dealing with you guys for a while. This is just a fight between friends. We're done.
All right.
Just violation. So I really dodged a bullet on that. But then the game plan changed. They're like, well, we don't want to send you to Coloma. We want to send you to Auburn. Granite Wellness. Well, it's Granite Wellness now. Oh, I don't know if we're supposed to.
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they sent me out to, at the time, Core, and I did 3 months in the residential there.
So 3 months in rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Did that start your recovery?
Absolutely, right?
Is that your last time high?
No. it
Okay.
wasn't. So if I would have kept that clean date, I would have been around 8 years, right? Somewhere around that, close to it. So I really liked it. I was like, I like this a lot. You know, I really did. I enjoyed like the tea house experience. I was there for almost 6 months because they paid for.
And you stayed clean while you're there?
Yeah, I stayed clean there and did really well.
Oh, that's cool.
Made some good friends. My sponsor was at the time, and that's Fourth Step Talk. My sponsor, right? My sponsor was picking me up from going to the rehab, picking me up, taking me. Got me introduced, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, when it all came out in the wash, he was one of those guys that would smoke pot, right?
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, no kidding me. You can't imagine, now that I know this concept and I go work with guys in the facility.
Yeah.
Not judging anybody, but for me, go fuck yourself.
Did you know he was smoking pot when you asked him to be your sponsor?
Oblivious.
And he didn't divulge that information at all?
No, he was picking me up at rehab.
Wow.
So there's some fourth step resentment there. I'm like, go fuck yourself, because now I know recovery. That's not right.
Yeah.
Because where I'm at in my recovery and the protection that I have for recovery and people that are inpatient,
Yeah.
don't you dare. Like, these people are fighting for their lives. You know what I mean? These people have
Fucking
have a lot-
confuse somebody that's banking on you and looking up to you and coming to you with all their problems
that really,
and
that really
yeah.
hurt me.
it's fucked
right?
up. Yeah.
And that stuff I'm still working through, and my sponsor now, we've worked through some of that, and but it doesn't take away and I look back on it now, and obviously I make my own choices, right? But I look back now, and all the suggestions were leading me towards, oh well, because I was drug seeking, I was a drug addict, right? So I was drug seeking, and that was should I go get on psych meds? Should I go get on antidepressants? Should I do anti-anxiety meds? these things that we all go through when we're seeking, right? And for me, it was like, and I don't knock anybody for getting mental health, but for me, what I was doing at the time was drug seeking.
Yeah, your motives weren't pure.
Yeah, there's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I couldn't recognize that then, obviously, especially with the advice I was getting given. Well, if it increases your life and enriches it, then I think that you should. So it
He's all stoned. He's like, yeah, man, might not be that bad, man.
And eventually led to the suggestion of smoking weed.
No. So okay, let's go back to fear.
Yeah.
Because we're going to roll through these 4-step questions. So, you had fear in relationships, especially romantic.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about one of your biggest fears in early recovery.
Early recovery. Ooh, that's a good one.
Like a lot of people will say like fear of failure.
Like I'm not capable of this.
Yeah.
Like I'm not capable of staying clean.
Or there's others. There's many others.
It's different for everybody, but
I had so many. It's hard to.
Well, tell us about one.
Yeah. So when I first got in, right, I was calling over the phone, right, just like because I was in a psych facility before I went to my rehab.
Uh-huh.
Because I had no funding this time. I didn't catch a case, which was new for me, right? Usually I ended up in rehab or somewhere because I caught a case or I was arrested. But this time I went through the mental health route, right? Because I was so desperate. I'm like, I'm gonna kill myself. And it wasn't really true. I will admit, I was lying. Like I wasn't really trying to kill myself. In hindsight, I was killing myself with the drugs and all that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
It was my fast track manipulation to get through the system so I could get housing. It was right after my house burned down in Auburn. And, I just remember calling and being so afraid that I can't stay clean. That was, and it almost brings tears to me because I just remember like the person that was answering was Jules. And I don't know if you know him. He was
Gay Jules or Jules from Grass Valley?
Grass Valley.
Okay.
He was so instrumental in my early recovery, and he's since passed away. But yeah, I just remember calling him and the hope he had for me. He didn't even know me, dude. He didn't even know me.
Let's talk about that feeling that you had because when you were describing it and you said it almost brings tears to your eyes. Is that like the epitome of the degradation?
There you go.
Ooh, I pulled that one out of my ass. Yeah. So, like the depths of our disease.
So there was obviously that's a key component, right? It's just there was so much fear, unworthiness. I didn't mean nothing to anyone, right? I was
including yourself, probably.
Yeah, I hated myself, hated you.
Yeah.
The intense hatred I had towards my parents at the time. We're talking about homicidal towards my.
It sounds like everything at that moment was all balled into one: the fears, the resentments, the shame, the guilt, because of the cry for help.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling of all of that kind of shit. My version of that, and just being crippled as a human, just like completely fucking broken, and like this never-ending feeling of just confusion and fear and anger, all just. And there was so many layers. I couldn't see any of it. I just was like. There's just so much feeling and wanting to run away from it so fucking bad.
And at the very, very bottom of that pile is you hated yourself.
Yeah, guilt and shame, sure, yeah. I mean, that guilt and shame and disguised by denial as a decision that I want to make. That was, we were talking earlier about like having the understanding that I wanted to change the way I feel at a young age. I didn't fucking have that because what I did with it was trick myself quickly into this is what I want to do. This is a lifestyle. Yeah. This is the choice that I'm making. So I didn't even know that I was running from feelings until fucking a year into recovery. You know what I mean?
So we started working steps.
Yeah, dude. Until I got serious about recovery, like I had no idea. I was just like, I do drugs.
Yeah,
I do drugs. I go to prison. I
You
fucking.
convinced yourself you were in control.
Yeah, it was a job. I was a choice. That's
You
what
had
you know.
no control.
No.
Yeah, there was an element to that. I can relate to that. There was, although I did have some insight at a young age that I was escaping, I eventually grew up, matured, right? So all the stuff that becomes with being a man, like you start getting this ego and you start, really protecting your pride. There's a lot of pride and
Yeah.
ego. So eventually it morphed into I get high. I fucking go to jail. What's up, dude? Let's do a removal type deal.
Yeah, this is what I do, yeah.
Yeah, this is what it's about. And, but in the back of it all, there was that scared little kid that was hurt.
Fuck yeah.
He was just a child,
So that point where you were on the phone, you called, and you were going to go into treatment.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get to that last day that you got loaded?
So what happened was, right, I was living in Auburn. I was actually, I knew Josh here for a while since then, right? We were kind of doing music together, and I was staying at my buddy, quote unquote producer's house. And
You were staying at Sev's?
yeah, I was bouncing back and forth. We were doing a lot of projects, mostly getting high.
Yeah.
Projects.
Fuck yeah, air quotes like a motherfucker on that one. We had a bunch of projects going, you know what I'm saying?
Mostly getting high.
Hey, when I'm doing crank, I've got shit ton of projects going.
Yeah. And it was all music based and
Project coordinator over here.
and my clipboard.
Yeah, fuck yeah, a little visor and a fucking pin in your ear.
Toothpick in your mouth.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of was in Auburn, and by that time I quit working because it was getting in the way of the using, right? And this was
This is when you were working at the 76 still?
76, yeah. I was working at the 76, and I remember the time that during that, all those suggestions about, that led me smoking weed taking Klonopin and then going to smoke weed. I eventually sought out meth because that's what I
Wasn't there kratom in there somewhere too?
Kratom was there. I
Yeah.
did the Kratom relapse.
Shit,
too.
let's throw it all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was, and it was stages, right? I did near beer because I thought I was smart, and it's like, man, I think I need the real, this near beer's not working for me. So I did that, a couple weekends, and then I'm like, what's this Kratom stuff? My buddy brought Kratom over one time, and it tasted like dog shit, but it got me high, so why not? And then next thing you know, I got kilo of the fucking shit sitting in my. It's that tasting it once, and then now I bought a kilo. What the fuck? From a head shop.
So you went slow.
Yeah.
And just kept it down to a kilo.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
I don't want to be
Don't go big.
I'm not trying to be excessive or anything.
Yeah.
So
You fucking try it one time. You're like, well, I definitely need this in my life for a long time, large amounts.
and then weed, same thing. I ended up getting connected with people that had pounds, and so I had pounds of weed. Moving the weed for it, $400 a pound I was making, and I was getting it way cheaper than that. So the reality is like, and then that, you scratch a weed dealer, you find some meth, you know what I mean? So that was my story behind that. I was now I was getting high with my weed dealer because he had meth. So fast forward to, because that kind of escapaded and the whole thing, and then there was a house fire, right? My sister got mad at and the investigation's over, so.
So you can talk about it.
Yeah, that's what I can talk about. And I know it's for sure closed because when there's a fire investigation, what happens is, and I didn't know this until after that anyway, so I didn't know any of this knowledge. So, and it was a total accident, but it was a free, I'm mad, I'm going to set your clothes on fire, and she doesn't understand. My sister just didn't understand. You don't do that by paint cans, spray paint.
Oh.
And the whole house went into flames, and so a good friend that our producer realized my house was burned down and immediately dropped me off in front of my house to say good luck. I was staying at his house without any timeline before, but as soon as I had nowhere to go, he's like, oh, goodbye. So there
Tight.
I was. Yeah,
Those are the close friends.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, this temporary loose thing could become real permanent. I don't want that responsibility. Got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good friends.
And not to mention, he pulled a gun out on me a week before that, a little pistol revolver he had, because he wanted-
Tripping because you guys were working on too many projects at the same time.
Somebody
Yeah.
else was there too. I can't remember who it was. It was
Bunch of tweakers.
Some white guy that was, some hippie white guy that was hanging out with us at one time. But yeah, he pulled a gun out on me, and I was like, "What are you gonna do? Shoot me? I got a witness." Like, I just was like, "You're not gonna do that, dude. Just because I wanted to fight you, don't." Because he was accusing me of all the paranoid tweaker shit that we did.
Yeah.
Totally didn't do it, right? He stole my cigarettes. No, I didn't, dude.
Cigarettes, dude?
Yeah, so long story short.
Fuck yeah, dude. We can fucking pull out a gun over some cigarettes.
Because he put it to a point where he's accusing me, and I was like, all right, we'll come outside and let's fight. And let's settle this like men. And no, we pulled a gun out on me and all that crazy stuff that comes with using, man. Shortly after that, I get a call, house burnt down. Now I'm in front of that house in my broke down Cavalier, because everything goes to shit all at once. Right? And when you're using drugs and all that stuff, it's like this divine interventions that happens, and all these doors close, and
But then one opens.
Oh yeah. And then there's only one door.
Yeah.
Recovery.
Yeah.
This is where you get clean?
Yeah. So this is where I start. So I could do one last hurrah, right? I end up walking down the road downtown Auburn and seeing this guy doing concrete work, and I was like, well, I could get some money real quick. So I helped him for a few hours. He paid me. I was supposed to go back the next day to help him again. Didn't, because I immediately went to go buy beer, and got shit-faced that night. And I just remember waking up going, this
In your car?
Yeah, in the back of the car.
Right on.
And
Broke car that doesn't run.
broken car, and it was sitting at an angle too, so you could only imagine the hit, because it was a hill.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
could
sleeping
only
was
imagine-
great.
Yeah, so you could imagine
Right
what
on.
it was like. And I just remember talking to my mom. She was just like, she gave me the idea, just go tell them you're gonna kill yourself, right? I'm like, no, I'm much too much of a man to do that. Fuck that. I'm not. My pride was immediately inflamed. And then the next door neighbor came, and he brought me a beer, right? Probably the last thing I needed, but he brought me a beer. And they had a list of recovery houses that he pulled off the internet.
Dude, fuck yeah, that's tight.
Wow.
That's fucking
In
cool.
my head, I'm like, fuck ever.
That's such a dope. That dude is fucking tight.
But something about that interaction, it made me completely break down and cry.
That dude was like, you are struggling right now. You need this. And when you're done with this, do this.
Right? Yeah. Let's keep you alive.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
a can of beer.
Yeah.
Until you get some rehab.
God, dude.
So did you go to rehab after the psych ward?
So yeah, what happened was I called my buddy. It was actually Koo that came and picked me up, and he came and brought me to the ER, right? And I went in there, did the whole thing, shebang. I couldn't kill myself, and right, did a code gray in there because I was there for a day or two, and I realized I was just on a gurney inside the hospital. In the hallway, like they didn't have a room for me, right?
Yeah.
So I was pretty much island. I was on this deserted island on this gurney, and I started wiggling and shaking, like, oh, I'm gonna go I need to go get high, right? And I jumped down. I'm on the 72-hour hold, right? And I jumped down, and I just remember code gray, and all these security guards come.
What's a code gray?
Good question. I think it has to do if you're
Like, get him.
Yeah, get this bastard because he's on the run and we legally can't let him leave. So, because I was on the 72-hour hold. But, so that passed. I was like, okay, I just really want to shower. Really, I wanted to get high. Just really want to shower. And they gave me wet wipes and let me do my thing in the because they didn't have a shower in the floor we had. And then the lady came in, right? All right, well, she's like, well, we can take you to this psych facility, right? We can get you help there. I said, perfect, as long as I have housing in my head,
Yeah.
Housing. And I knew the life I was living, I couldn't continue, right? There's
So
just
that
something.
was that the decision? That was the end.
That was the decision. That was the end. Yes.
Cool.
I got shipped out to Kirby Hills in Roseville, and from there, I was calling every single day. I first saw somebody for the county, and I immediately got funding, 30 days or whatever they start you out with, 10 days or something.
Yeah.
And immediately started advocating for myself. I didn't know that, I'm going to stay clean forever. And I didn't think I really could, but something had to change. And there's something really, it wasn't me doing these choices. I don't believe to this day, because going back to that fear, I didn't think I could do it. For me at that time in my life, I didn't do things that I couldn't do. I stuck to the safe route. I know how to get high. I can do it. I know what I'm doing in this
But you
area.
had already had a little bit of experience in recovery.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So so you knew a different way to live.
In a sense, I can't say, because as soon as I put in, all that was gone.
Yeah.
was
But the seed was planted because you knew that you can go somewhere to get clean
Yeah.
or sober. So tell us about, so then after the psych ward, then you got to rehab.
Yeah.
Tell us about a reservation you had when you first got clean.
Reservation. So I think the biggest reservation for me was the anger, right? And it still can be today. So I realized with my anger, it kept taking me out, right? And I didn't realize that feeling was a reservation for me, because my addiction was like, it's trying to get me high, right? For me, this is the way it works for me. It's constantly trying to get me high. So it knows if anger is the catalyst for most of my times where I say fuck it, right? Or if something violent happens and then I get more angry and then I just go say fuck it, right? So it knows that I have good recovery. It knows I'm doing the right thing. So for me, it's like the way my addict brain works is like it uses my anger, right? Because that's the only emotion that that's the only emotion that I'll 100% say fuck it.
So your reservation would be that if you act out in anger, that you're gonna get high.
Yeah. So it was cunning, right? There was two aspects to it. That, and then also it did change the way I felt.
Anger does.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it's using.
Yeah, it's I'm doing a shot. Like the heart rate, the breath, the tunnel vision, the hair on the back of the neck, the warm feeling,
That's where it shows up the most for me too. I still think about it's been a while since I've had like an episode, but
Episode.
But I think about it. I think about it often. Like I think about like violence. I think about
I'll
chaos. I play it out.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't mean to interrupt you. I apologize for that. But
I don't mean to interrupt you, but shut up. I got something I need to say.
before we go farther than that,
well said.
I believe that we can think about that stuff.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
And we're not acting on it because, like, I've been around a while, but I still, like, every once in a while, it's like, I wonder what it's like to shove a pencil in that guy's neck.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
But that's just a thought,
Yeah,
right? I know the consequences.
That's normal, but I think what I was trying to get at is that there's part of me that wants it. That like I can feel my disease trying to be like, yes, that.
I can see that happening.
Yeah, like I'll think about, because I miss the chaos as the violence, the door kicking in doors, the running from cops, that part of it was the thing for me too. And so when I think about those things, I can feel like that. Yeah, do that. Like it like tries to creep in, Yeah,
it's like watching. For me, it's like for me the way it works with my anger, like back when I was in jail, man, I just would envision smashing your head on the concrete. Right? They were overwhelming, where it completely stopped me in my tracks. Like it had a hold of me to where I was like almost animalistic. And I'm I'm not the toughest, not the weakest. That's not the point. It's just it was something I was experiencing.
Yeah.
And I was like, and after I'm like, oh man, I was just so by the balls to this anger that I just could not. I mean, it was just solved with violence. Whether you beat me up or I beat you up, it was getting solved. We're gonna know.
Just so, in case people are listening that aren't in recovery, we're not psychopaths. We're not.
Well, the thing about this is that the reality is that you push anybody to a certain point or put anybody in a certain situation, they experience certain things, they learn certain coping mechanisms. All of society all of society may not have experienced things to the extreme that some of us may have, but it's in all of us. All of us are capable of doing any of it. Some people might not be able to relate as much. One that shows up for me, like something similar, like using a feeling of like that I could tie to like diseases, like for a long time, and I still do it. Especially when I'm stressed out financially. I am casing everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go. Like still today, dude, I still think about it. And it's not any more than like, God, that would be an easy lick. Like, that would be, you know what I mean?
So it's just like just like an old routine.
Yeah, like my brain just automatically, but it's triggered by financial stress or fear. Like fear, fear of like everything that I've built is going to fall apart. Like when I'm not in a good place with myself, I start feeling like something's bad is going to happen, and then that can trigger me to be like, I better be more prepared than this. And then that I'm acute and hyper aware. And when I'm walking into a room or when I'm seeing somebody that's a easy target, or when I'm counting the steps that it takes for somebody to get from the Brinks truck to the fucking front door. Like you know what I mean? Like I just start doing it, you know?
As you guys said, mathing?
Yeah, mathing, dude. I'm fucking doing math like a motherfucker, dude. Yeah.
Crunching the numbers.
Yeah.
So you have been listening.
Yeah.
You know exactly what it is. Okay, so that reservation about anger, is that still like prevalent today?
Actually,
or is that something you're working on?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because it wasn't until a month of less than that, 2 weeks ago, roughly.
It showed up.
The anger was cool. You had it kind of in check a little bit, and then a couple weeks ago, an episode.
What had happened was these neighbors I have, they have German Shepherds, and they decided to attack me. Thankfully, and this is not the first attack, they bit one of my workers I had over, right? Before that, so there's a whole court case. We have it on Monday. And so I was walking to the back of the property. We're clearing some trees, and my brother was down, and he's in recovery too, so he totally gets, he's totally on that vibe. And so we get back, I get back there, and this dog runs up on me, and I have protective gear on me, and I'm completely double layers, thick pants, Carhartts, big boots. So like, if they get me, there's going to be some protection, at least a little bit. But and this dog just starts trying to attack me. I'm like, holy shit, this is happening. So I have a switchblade on me that I use mostly just for work, and I pulled it out, and I basically stabbed the dog, right? And
hold on.
Yes.
Basically, or you did?
I did. I stabbed.
Okay.
Well, go a little bit further back. You pulled out a switchblade?
Yes, it started attacking me.
Wait, a switchblade?
Like
this? It's just for my work that I use to cut boxes.
It's just a pocket knife,
Okay,
not a switchblade.
Thank you.
I don't like a crazy butterfly knife. Right?
Yeah, you pull out a fucking
Right? Yeah, you're not supposed to be incriminating yourself.
Yeah.
It's just a regular
pocket knife. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Like small one.
Okay, carry on.
But it started attacking me, and then four other dogs ran up on me and started actively trying to attack me too. By this time, I already scared the first one because I got it in the jaw, right? And these other ones, I was backed up against the wall, thankfully, because you don't want a German Shepherd
behind you.
Yeah, because they go for the soft parts and all that. It's just their instinct. And thankfully, my brother comes running around the corner because he's about to climb the tree. And if you could only imagine, I don't know if you have any experience with tree work, when you're a climber, you have these spikes that go on your feet, and they don't come off for good reason, because you're not going to fall out of the tree.
Yeah.
So he can't just take them off real quick, so he's digging into the dirt trying to get to me because he knows that there's this commotion around the corner. And they see him get spooked because I tag one in the mouth, and I swipe at the other ones, and it's enough to back them up. And my brother comes in and scares them off. So that's just intense itself, right? So I'm like, all these emotions, and I go to the house, and basically my yard is kind of mixed with their yard. I said, somebody from that house needs to get out here right now. They're like, oh, well, let's go grab this. He's like 21. I said, no, I don't want to talk to him. I've talked to him before, and nothing gets done. I need the person that makes the decisions, that pays the rent. And so the lady came out, and we talked. And this time I had a little, the canine kind of got me through the stabbing, and it was bleeding, right? Well, nothing crazy, just real minor. But I'm like, your dog did this. I said, I don't care if it's big or small, control your dogs. And at this time I was like, screw this, I'm calling the sheriffs. Animal control, gotta report these guys. This is the second bite on my property.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I go and do that, right? And then this young kid, 21, starts mouthing off, talking this and that. I'm grabbing these dogs, this big old ordeal over there. I'm taking these dogs, throwing them in the back. I'm getting rid of these dogs because this fucking asshole, this, that, and the other. Starts calling me out of my name. I said, hey, bud. I calmly said, hey, bud, they ran on my property and attacked me. I said, I'm not in the wrong here, dude. That's not the way this works. Then he starts mouthing off, fuck you. I said, all right. And then I snapped. I said, I'm not proud of it. Get the fuck over here. I'm going to teach you a lesson. Like, get over here on my property and say that to me. So I had a slight, granted, all the rationalizations there, right? Of course. You got attacked by dogs, and I can tell myself it was justified, but I still felt bad because I was acting out on old behavior. I threw my sweater off, and there was 3 of them, calling them all out, and just putting myself in an unnecessary situation that could have been avoided, but there was just so much happening. It was just
a bunch of feelings. And
well, let me ask you this: right then, like on your property, when the guy's mouthing off to you, looking back now, do you recognize like pride and ego, false pride and ego?
Yeah. At the time, I recognized that, right? But at the time, it was just like.
I love how he points that kind of shit out to people. He does it to me too, and I'm like, motherfucker. I'll be on the phone with him, and you know what I mean?
Well,
hey, you think
it's not a malicious thing. It's like
100%.
Like that's the core, right? That we get to work on our pride and ego. Like you could have just easily, not participated.
It showed up for me right there. At that time, I kind of, and it was just like. We're both men. You guys did me wrong.
Yeah, right? You simplified it into your head to like, man, this is a problem. We need to figure this out.
Yeah, let's hash it
out. I'm
out.
mad
because you're talking to me and calling me out of my name and doing things that are just where I have to draw the line regardless.
Yeah, I get it.
Done it in a better way. But at that time, he was getting high feet, talking that whole thing that people do when
shit
they're
talker.
mad. And and in the end he folded, right? And that's a pride thing for me. But it's just like, okay, you caused this whole thing, and then you ran back in your house. It's just like, and then I was there. I'm like, oh, here I am again, right?
Yeah.
Because the fact
that's cool. What's cool is that nobody got hurt. You know what I mean? Other than your finger from the dog.
Just a little minor.
Did the dog need? This is probably none of your concern, but did the dog need any kind of?
Medical? I don't know.
Okay.
I just don't know. But it was real quick, right? And it was funny because when it was happening, my current thoughts was I can't stick this in this dog. I know this is pretty grotesque, but because then I won't have a weapon if it gets. So these are all happening in a millisecond.
Split second, yeah.
So I was just swiping. Like,
sure.
It was just like because there was 3 other dogs. One was in the back barking like crazy. And eventually gonna try to bite me, but there was 4 actively trying to bite me. So I was like this, kicking and.
Dude, that's just survival.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I would have done the same thing. Yeah.
I would have.
That's self-preservation.
I would have had a hard time with that whole process. Even after the dogs left, I would have been processing like these dogs need to go. You know what I mean? These dogs need to go, and I'm probably the one that needs to make it happen.
Judge, jury.
Before you do that, call me.
Yeah.
Judge Dredd.
I'm just saying that would be because I would feel very triggered. Like there's that's enough to make you feel like, oh shit, this is a very serious problem. Like, and I am not going to face this again. So I'm going to eliminate this problem now.
Going back to that pride and ego.
Yeah.
I have a 4th step that I'm doing right now, and
perfect.
And that kid's on the list, right? But there was on the old school way of doing the charts, right? I like the charts because I like to be able to write stuff down with like structure. So for me, like I'm doing the charts for the 4th step right now, and there's different aspects of social, and there's a sexual aspect,
romantic,
there's a whole bunch of different aspects, and I started clicking these off. I was like, oh, security. Like, I was really scared for my family because just a week prior, a month prior, the bite happened, and then a week prior, they ran up on my wife with my daughter in her hands. And I have screenshots, and I sent it all. I have cameras around my property based off of how these dogs behave, because I'm like, okay, they're on my property. They are on my property, like themselves as people, and then their dogs are on my property. And now it's getting to a vicious state to where 2 people, it bit a kid down the street. She's involved in the clan. These dogs, these dogs are wild. And I'm not, sometimes when...
I don't understand if there's a bite involved already and then they come after you. I'm very familiar with that whole process. They would have been put down.
Yeah. And that's what's confusing me, right, is there's a process that's protecting these animals. And since they're traveling in groups, right, so there's multiple of them.
There's pack mentality.
So it's harder to pinpoint which ones are... So what they're running into the wall, so if it was one animal doing this over and over, it would have been put down. But there's multiple, they have like 7 dogs. So they're like, oh... we have to just get one at a time and build it. It's just messy. So that's at least what they're, saying to me. And through this process, I'm trying to handle it correctly because...
Good for you.
And I was honest with the sheriffs. I said, I'm going to beat this kid's ass. I said, this is going to end up in a criminal case. I said, I want to avoid that. I said, you guys please need to do something. I said, because you guys put them on a home quarantine, that's not sufficient. Those dogs need to be in a quarantine in the pound. And once the supervisor found out, and that eventually happened, and they're getting held till court, but only 2 of them because they shoveled the other ones off.
All right, enough about those dogs.
Yeah.
It's getting me angry.
This situation is a perfect example of the next question. What consequences from past wrongdoings are you living with today, and learning the coping mechanism of anger, and finding yourself in that spot, like, oh fuck, here I am again, like wanting to just hurt somebody,
The consequences. The consequences for me, the way they show up for me is, at least today, right? Because after that happened and I was in the jail cell, 2 years clean and sober, I made a promise to myself. I said, I can't do this. And I'm sober, right? And something really happened for me from the HP.
I have a question. So you say sober a lot. Is your primary source of recovery Alcoholics Anonymous?
No, I just they're words. I don't.
Okay.
They're just words.
In my brain.
For us on this podcast, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're interviewing anybody in 12 steps.
Yeah.
I was just curious. You hear it more often in AA, and as you hear clean in NA, it's just I was curious.
You say whatever you want.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. I've never been lost in the semantics of things, but there is there's difference. But for me, it's like I love NA, I love AA, I do Project Heart, I do alumni at my the rehab I went through.
Yeah.
It's just free flowing for me, sober, clean. For
whatever.
me, there's just
good.
My brain doesn't even, whether I'm saying clean or sober.
You're not using.
Yeah. So
consequences from the past that you're dealing with today.
Consequences from the past that I'm dealing with today. Well, the whole thing with my daughter, right?
That's a good one.
My daughter, I don't have a relationship, and I kind of repeated the cycle. I didn't repeat some of the abuse, but I repeated what my mom did to me, right? And I make an effort. She gets flown out, even she's in Texas. So,
Yeah.
And partly that's it's both of our faults, my ex-wife and myself, because we never communicated, right? And it led to them being so far, right? And just the abuse between her and I pushed her out and towards her path, right? But I stayed away because I was using. And come to find out, she catches a court case and she's doing the same thing. So that's something I had to work on with my sponsor. Is like, well, I stayed away, but you were doing the same thing I was, so why'd I leave? Type deal.
Yeah. So I mean, to Josh's point, your daughter is. Do you feel that she's dealing with her own abandonment with you, and that's a consequence?
I do.
That
I
you're
see it in
you're
her.
doing?
I see it in her behavior. When she comes to visit me, she has a real hard time going back, and she doesn't get to, but she'll find little things to like set her focus on, and like, oh, I forgot. Like, okay, case in point, this last time she one of the last times she forgot a doll somewhere, and she just had a complete breakdown about this doll. And it's not that. It is the doll, but it's like I'm leaving. I don't get to see my dad.
Yeah.
I have to leave my grandpa, which has been her father figure more than I have. So there was just recognizing these emotions in this young child that I can really resonate with, because that's the stuff I was dealing with. And
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
That's really heavy.
It's hard. It's hard.
To see in your daughter what you experienced as a child too.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have kids, man.
Sounds
like a lot. You know what I mean?
Going through this
It
whole
is a lot.
experience
Yeah.
with the newborn after 11 years or 10, 11 years. Wow. Thank God for my wife. Oh, thank God for my wife.
I could say that a million times over.
She's just, it's right
Well,
up.
Josh knows my wife, so
Yeah.
he'll say it too.
Yeah, she's just
Sure, yeah. Thank God for Jen,
because
yeah.
Just where I lack.
Minus anonymity.
in
Sorry
that-
about that.
Go ahead.
When I lack, what I lack in that area, she's just picked up the slack.
We have a funny saying amongst the sponsee brothers that we actually aren't sponsored by Kevin. We're sponsored by his wife.
Dude, okay, so the reality is, her and I have been together for so long, over 30 years, that a lot of times she's like sponsors me, just by being so close, and I call her my co-sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's true. And she is the healthy one.
Brought to you by,
What do you say?
brought to you in part by.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, good. Co-sponsor.
What resentments did you hold on to for a long time that you were able to have overcome?
Ooh, that's a good one. I've just recently learned to be honest about this, and it's still kind of hard.
Oh, I love it.
My stepmom, I had homicidal and violent images of rape towards her, and just
Whoa, dude.
murder, rape, all these things. And
Phew.
I've never been that. That's not something I've ever.
Dude, when you
been.
go through trauma-
That's fucking intense, dude.
No, when you go through trauma like that, no holds barred.
Yeah, and
Fucking yes, dude. That's good
so
shit.
and it's,
Thank you for sharing that.
It's scary because, I've never been in a scenario where that was even possible. I never raped, never been raped. There's nothing like that that's in my reality.
The hatred was just so
But
deep.
The hatred at that young age, at 13,
Yeah.
14, and then I'm going through puberty at the same time. There was just so many mixed emotions, like I want to kill you, fuck you, kill you, all these things. And I worked through that, right? But that was
That's fucking intense, dude.
Yeah, it's intense, right?
Jesus.
Because I hate you. That's what was in my mind. And I've had to work with my sponsor. Say these were the feelings I had, right? These were the feelings I had. This is the stuff I was doing.
Good
around
for
that
you.
time.
That's courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Thanks for sharing, man. Not a lot of people would expose that sort of, or that level of
authenticity.
Yeah, or like insanity even. Like that's a pretty deep, intense level of chaos, you know? Yeah, it's intense.
I honestly just I realized I was holding it back, and you know, and it was one of those questions when we were done with the 4-step. Is there anything? Because my sponsor says, "Is there anything that's not on this list that you're not telling me?" And that was the first time we went through it. That was one of them, and I realized, oh my God, that's because I was so shameful for even having those.
Yeah.
Thoughts. I was so shameful for even be entertaining something like that. Even though I've never done that, it was just like, dude, that's not thoughts you're supposed to have.
That's not normal. I'm not. It's not okay. I can't talk about this.
Especially, this is my quote unquote mom. She's my stepmother, right? So.
Yep.
All right, let me ask you this: sharing that with us, but having, you've had years of recovery, right? And you've been to a lot of meetings and you've heard a lot of stories, and you've heard some podcasts too. Yeah. Does that make it any less of a shame and guilt for you that to know that other people have done like really similar shit?
So, yes, right? The stigma, like I'm at a point where I can share it. I can share it on group level. I can share it with her, right? I don't repeat that. Like, oh, I was thinking about raping you, nothing like that. But it was like, and I was thinking about murdering you, Mom. Like that's not a normal sentence. So, so those are things that now, like I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because for me, I got this personal development that
it's how you heal, man.
Yeah, it's gonna do me good, right? And in the end, it'll just help somebody else, right? Because
yes,
if
that
I'm
dude.
not sick and I'm doing well, I could eventually help someone. And
that is in fact the entire purpose of this podcast.
Nice.
That is exactly why we do this, so that through relatability, it can grease the wheels and smooth out the process for somebody else to be like, wow, I'm not the only one that's fucked up. Like, maybe there's hope. Maybe there's some work I can do. Maybe I need help.
Yeah, because I see it as this, right? I need to share this because somebody has something in here that they're not sharing that's gonna get them loaded.
Yeah. Yep.
I need to talk about this homicidal hate and this obsession that I had as a young child of harming this other individual, in this case my mother, that these are thoughts you don't just share freely. You don't do that, especially on group level. So I'm like, okay, this is hurting me, and if I don't get it out, I'm not going to be well. But if I do get it out, it's going to help someone else, because it's all about watching people and seeing the courage other people have. That's all I got. That's how I got here.
Oh, that's how I stayed clean.
Yeah.
Somebody else at a meeting shared about being molested as a kid, and I heard it at a meeting, and it made it okay for me to share about it.
Yeah, this is how this works. That's what we do. That's what we do. That's why this thing works. The therapeutic value of one addict helping others without parallel. We can't get it. Can't get it in a different place. It works because it works.
Yeah. So towards the end of the episode, we kind of ask.
I got a follow up for that. Real quick.
Do the follow up.
Resentments that are still active today.
Your neighbor. We already know that one.
Yeah, that's resentments as far as like from the past or just current ones?
Yes, to both. Yeah,
Whatever.
Obviously the neighbor is a current one, but is there any that you've carried over that you still could really get twisted up about?
Yeah, there's certain events that I can replay in my head, right? That really make me go back there and feel triggered.
What are they?
So
give us an example of one.
A good example is, that's a good question. So for me, it's just like some of the, punching my ex-wife in the back of the head repeatedly while she's pregnant, shit like that.
So the resentment is towards yourself.
Myself.
Dude, yes,
yeah.
Good job, dude. Fuck yeah.
That. While she's in labor, launching a shoe at her, just abuse through no ends because I was so fucking high and just off the hook. And that's stuff that I see myself doing, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude, that's not who. I don't want that done to my daughters.
No.
Yeah.
So looking at that, you understand now today that was your addiction, right?
In a sense, right? But it still showed up with me when I was sober. So at that pivotal point in my recovery, I was like, oh, this wasn't because I was high.
All right. So you have that to work on, right?
On this last 8th step, I was the only person on my amends list, and
Yeah.
I was the only resentment that I had to deal with was towards myself, and it was the hardest fucking 8th step I've ever done. I've done it several times, multiple times, and it was the most difficult one. Like, I didn't want to look at it because I knew that it required change, and I would have to change my actions in order to stop treating myself the way that I've been treating myself that made me feel this way, and I didn't want to fucking look at it. But I knew it was there, and I knew I was doing it, so I boxed myself into this corner where I'm like, yeah. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Quit being a little bitch. You're fine.
You can't be ignorant to the fact that you're causing yourself harm.
Yeah, it's clear as day, but you have to have the willingness, you know?
Yeah.
And I, to say to that, to extend on another one from the past is my parents, man. There's just so much. I now that I'm, it's reactivating in the sense of I'm a parent again, right? And just the love I have for that kid. And I'm like, wow, where was that? Why? How could you not love me like this?
Yeah.
Like because for me, it's just like everything I do is, I work all these hours because I want to put myself and my daughter in a position, and when I'm with her, because I watch her 3 times a week for 3 or 4 hours a day, and for me, it's like it gets frustrating, right? Because it's an infant, but I just don't understand, right? So I circle back to that going, what the fuck? How can you not love this child? And I put myself because there's no way that I'm going to do what you did to me.
Yeah, I get that.
Not because, it's not because I'm not living in it like, this is my trauma, so I'm basing everything off my trauma. It's like, you just don't do that.
No, you know what? And that's easy to say, but let me ask you this: have you gone back to your stepmom and made amends, or your dad and made amends?
Not physically. That's next on my list.
Okay.
That's good.
So that's something to look forward to, because things will change after that, right?
I did it over the phone, but it didn't hold the same weight.
Yeah.
Just because they live in Chowchilla, so I work a lot, blah blah blah. So the end goal, right, with that is execute that ninth step
Cool.
amends, where I can just clear my side of the street.
That's what you'll get from that process. My experience says that's what you'll get. There's the potential. For me, because I clear my side of the street, and I still have resentments.
Yeah.
I still have resentments when I think about it too much. I start getting myself worked up. But at the end of the day, what helps me get through it, and I'm sharing this because I feel like it's relevant for multiple people to hear this, is that I still have a relationship with my parents, and I talk to both of them, and I consciously put effort into both of them, even with the resentments coupled on top of that, because they each are who they are. They are them now, and they were them then. And I can see now that they did what they were capable of. Yeah. They did the best. What I got from them as a child is what they had available to offer. Yeah.
And that's what they were taught.
Yeah, and that's all it is, and that helps me. That helps me get through it.
And what he's saying, you and I, we're so fortunate to have a program with 12 steps and spiritual principles to help us parent differently.
And this isn't to say that I'm better than or worse than, or they're worse than or better than. It's just that it's the awareness of reality for me. I see it. I can trace it out. I can see it happening, and I can watch it, and I can still see the same mannerisms and the characteristics today that make me understand I get it. I understand why I didn't feel loved or protected, or why I have abandonment issues. Like I see these things, and it creates the ability for me to have compassion for, and I could do this with anybody, have compassion for where somebody's at, and hopefully I get the same in return, because I'm a fucked up human myself, you know?
Yeah, you get to take that with your parents.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Yeah, there's, well, you know, in my dad's sense, I get there a little bit faster, because for him, I know of his past abuse. I know what he went through, right? There was that insight of compassion, for sure.
Right, good for you.
So there was like that, but I don't know that about my stepmom.
Yeah.
I don't know her history, and I've never asked, and situations never arisen to kind of, you know, talk about these things, and so that's a necessary step that has to happen. And and when they meet my new addition to the family, that's, you know, their granddaughter, that's a goal of mine. So
good.
It's actively 100%. I made amends to my maternal mother, you know, birth mom.
Yeah.
You know.
Perfect. I'm excited for you, Frank.
Thank you.
You know, in this process, I'd like to circle back around when all this has changed for you.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. So, what's the craziest?
You guys should exchange phone contact
what you
information.
just did was a phone gesture.
Yeah, you guys need to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, craziest story from when you were getting loaded.
Oh my God, there's so fucking many of them.
Just pick your favorite.
My favorite and craziest. Oh God.
And remember, without incriminating yourself.
Oh yeah, I know. That's important. So, well, the most craziest one that I remember, that was towards the end of my last using. So me and my sister were getting in a fight, right? And we get it out. We've been fighting since we were kids, you know, throwing blows, bone back and forth, smacking each other, punching each other. So we get into another one of those, and so
how old are you?
This was when I was 28, 29,
okay,
roughly.
And you're how old now?
34.
Okay.
So
this is after your last prison sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. And we're duking it out, and then we stop, right? Like I walk away, and she's like, "F you, F this." She grabs a pair of scissors, right? It's a decent sized pair of scissors. And she goes, "Fuck this, I'm gonna kill myself." I go, "What the fuck you waiting for? Go ahead." So she takes this knife and stabs it right in her fucking neck, dude.
The scissors?
The scissors, yeah. And I'm in complete shock. Oh my God, it's 1 a.m. I'm like, so
holy
all these
shit.
all these stuff, and she puts it in like that, you know, about
a couple inches.
Yeah, I'm like, and there's just blood just instantly start going. I'm like, oh my God. So I run up and grab the neighbor, and I'm just like, there's so many thoughts. I'm like, they're gonna think I fucking killed her. There's so many that she's gonna die. There's so many thoughts racing through my head, and we get to this point where I get them down. We're holding pressure on it, and there's she said, "We're not going to the ER." I'm like, "You might die." So somehow she missed every vital whatever in her neck.
Oh wow!
And because she's still alive in the morning, but that's how.
Holy shit! So you just just wrapped her up and
wrapped her up. She refused to. We'll get to. We got the car jumped, right. We're going to the hospital. I'm not going anywhere, you know. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like,
does your sister have? Is she one of us?
Yes, 100%.
So there's no rational thought then.
No, she's one of us, and she's still out there, and that's a relationship that hurts, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're so close in age, and growing up, we had each other, and we used a lot with each other, and surprised that didn't come up already. But we were, you know, I'm always protective of her, and we'd always, you know, get all these weird scenarios where we'd be using, and so it was weird, you know, she's one of us, and she's still out there, basically. And
All right.
That scenario, I think, was probably the scariest for me because, first off, I thought my sister was going to die, and second off, and then, shortly after that, the next morning, I got in a fist fight with somebody because they thought I killed her because she was upstairs at the neighbor's house, and all they seen was blood everywhere.
Oh my God.
Where's your sister? I'm like, whoa, let me explain. And this dude, he wasn't a pushover, right? So we end up duking it out, and this is all one event pretty much. We end up duking it out. He kicks me in the balls repeatedly, which
That hurts.
you don't do in a fight, but whatever. That's another
Says who? Oh, hell yeah.
Well, I mean,
No. First thing I do.
I understand, I get it, but he connects about the third one in. I was like, okay, this hurts. So I engaged with him physically to wrestle him up because my balls are fucking hurting at this point, and I fell backwards and I landed on a vacuum, completely broke my rib and protruded on my lung. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, something's wrong. And he's just still wailing on me. I can't breathe. He's just wailing on me. And eventually he catches on there's something wrong. And he ends up running off and leaving. And I end up going to the ER. But that whole event...
That's insane.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good one.
Of the
Of your
potential
sister.
murdering of my sister. And I'm like, and she totally did it to herself. To this day, don't care what anyone says. Because everybody always questioned it too, because they know me. They're like, that's well within your possibility of doing. Like,
Yeah, I mean, just from what you've talked about so far today, I mean, it's not far off. You know
But
what I
I'm
mean?
like, the only time, like, dude.
No,
I
seriously,
really
I'm
did.
innocent.
Yeah.
I saw going to trial for murder.
Right.
And there's just no way around it. Like, if she would have died there that night, it was just me and her. She has this sticking out of her. It's case closed for most officers
yeah.
and detectives. So I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, that is insane.
Yeah, so thankfully she survived.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, you're telling the story like we were beating the shit out of each other and then we stopped fighting. I walked over here. She said, I'm going to kill myself. I told her, go for it. She stabbed herself. I didn't do any of that.
Yeah. I did everything else prior to that.
The black eye, the fucking bloody lip, all that, me. Did it. Guilty.
I
The
guess
stabbing?
The key thing
No.
is where your prints on the scissors.
That's true.
At that point, I was like, I ran and grabbed the neighbor. Hey, you need to help me.
Yeah.
Like, you need to see
All
what's
right.
going on.
Cool. Frank, we appreciate you coming out. That's a good story.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's a good one to end on. Thanks for being willing and honest and authentic and vulnerable.
Well, thank you guys for allowing me to be on here. And honestly, I keep doing it because the healing that it provided for me just in my workout sessions, I was mad that there was another episode.
Well,
So please,
Yeah, we
keep
are.
doing it. I know.
We are.
I was upset in the fact of I don't know if you ever watched a good series or
Yeah, the fucking series things. Yeah. Yeah.
I hear you.
book or something.
Yeah.
So just please, it's so healing because not only did you plugged that anonymous podcast and now I listen to that.
Good.
So I actively listen to that, and they go deep too. They go into like the traditions, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm listening to now based off just that I think it was Jessica maybe or Jennifer.
Jennifer, yeah.
Jennifer, and
She's involved in that.
Yeah. So it was interesting to be able to listen to that. So I mean,
Cool.
It's important because like it not only enriched my recovery, just in the small amount of time that I've experienced it.
That's what we want to do is create that community, especially with other recovery podcasts, because it all helps, and that's the goal.
Yeah. Mine's coming soon. It's called FD Recovery.
FD?
FD stands for
Frank and David?
No. It's just the way it worked out, but it's called Flow Directive. So
Okay.
Flow directive.
yeah, so
Okay.
for me, that way it works in my higher power. It leads me to people, places, and things, messages I need to hear.
Yeah.
And there's this ebb and flow of energy that
Dude, I dig that.
that
Yeah,
keeps
that's
me
tight.
afloat, and it sends me on the path that I know that I'm supposed to be on.
Cool.
So for me, that flow directive is important in my life, and that's
Right
how
on.
it relates.
Well, and that's up and running. We'll plug that too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. Thanks,
Cool, man.
everyone.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Love you guys.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. Often you will hear addicts referring to a specific 12-step program or rehab. These are personal stories. We do not represent any of the programs.